Growing up in a previously colonized country is quite something. Growing up in a previously colonized country with a double culture is another level of identity crisis. Hi, Habibti. Today, I want to share something that we might have in common. Most of our countries had some kind of history with colonization, occupation, or even sometimes war. As for myself, I grew up in Morocco during the 90s, a few years after the country took back his independence from France. I was too young to realize how the country's history would affect my identity, but also the entire Moroccan identity in itself, and that on a generational level. It's only recently that we started to listen to or watch content about decolonization, about what truly happened back then and how today our countries and families are still shaped by this history. I was born in Tangier in 1994 from a Moroccan father and a French mother. Ever since that time, I was schooled in a French private school. This detail might seem irrelevant to you, but I'll explain why it is absolutely not a detail at all. I grew up in an Arab country, learning about French history and the French language. In our history books, we only heard one time about Morocco, and it was to learn about the brief occupation of France in our country. Not one word about the Arab dynasties that conquered Europe at some point, and which we inherited our culture from. Nothing about the richness of our language, our cities, or the different kings that are still ruling us on that day, while learning about the favorite meals of Louis XVI, King of France. And at that time, nothing seemed abnormal to me. It was the way it was. At home, we were talking mostly in French, not in Darija, which is the local dialect of Morocco, because my mom couldn't understand it and my father wanted us to have access to better opportunities in life by talking in French. Again, I never questioned those choices because it was the way it was and I didn't have a say in this as a teenager. But I could definitely see and feel how this made me a stranger in my own country. My other cousins were going to a private Moroccan school, and you could notice the gap between us. I remember this one time when I was 10 years old, one of my younger cousins made fun of me for my accent in Darija and said that I couldn't even speak Arabic. Worse, that I wasn't a real Moroccan. I couldn't talk like them, couldn't joke like them. I wasn't one of them. Of course, today, I don't really care about that because when we are kids, we say and do stupid things. But at the time, it made me feel so self-conscious and ashamed of myself. This is when my identity crisis started. I wasn't Arab enough for Moroccans, and I wasn't white enough for French people. Hey Habibti, if you're enjoying this episode so far, we are launching one piece of content like this a week. So don't forget to subscribe to be part of this insane community and join us on Instagram for exclusive content. I didn't know what to do with my identity because outside the safe doors of my home, I had to have it figured out. Ever since Morocco has been colonized by France, you had to decide which side you were on. The colonizer side, and then have this internalized racism for your own kind, Moroccans, or being on the colonized side and then reject completely anything that had a relationship somehow with France. But how do you do that when you were born with both nationalities? At that time, I knew nothing about colonization and the effects that it could have on individuals and society itself. Trying to navigate that as a teenager was honestly a hard thing to do. It made me feel like I had to choose a side if I wanted to belong somewhere. So I took the easy route. During my high school years, I decided to play the I'm French, not Moroccan card to benefit from all the privileges of the post colonized Moroccan society had to offer to me. Because it was the cool thing to do. Saying that you were a European somehow gave you access to a social status you could never dream of as a Moroccan. I didn't realize at that time how wrong that was. Today, knowing what I know and saying that out loud is making me ashamed of myself. At 18 years old, I had to move to France for my studies. And that's how I discovered racism and discrimination. That's when I could notice with my own eyes how French society was picturing North Africans. And don't get me wrong here. I am not saying that it is true for all French people. But just like us in Morocco, we have this cliché image of French people being rich, educated, classy, elevated. In France, they have this cliché image about Moroccan people being poor, uneducated, living in tents and rumbles. That was a harsh slap on my face. And that was the turning point for me on my identity journey. Starting there, I had a long route to take on learning everything I missed these last 18 years. I bought books about Morocco's history, started practicing more and owning my derija, tried to learn and understand more about Moroccan society, not only the privileged aspects of it, but the real and honest version of it. And I am still learning. If I'm sharing this honest and shameful story about myself, it is because I know that a lot of us are in this situation. On TikTok recently, I saw a video that was making fun of Dreri della Mission, which translates into the rich kids of the French school. And I saw myself in that video. I wish someone back then taught me this. I wish someone had the audacity to own their truth and educate me about it. Today, I am proud to say that I am Moroccan. I am North African. And I am Arab. That's how I identify myself. And if you're struggling until this day to find yourself and define your identity, I'm here to tell you that it will take time, that you shouldn't be ashamed of yourself and of this mix of cultures, and also that you don't have to pick a side. The only thing that matters is that you know your roots and the history that comes with it. And the rest will follow.